Organizations that focus on the supply side of the training they provide are looking at the wrong side of the equation. By focusing on the demand side, what learners need, they can facilitate the biggest part of the learning experience, informal learning. In a recent HCI Webcast, underwritten by Learn.com, Jay Cross, chair of the Internet Time Alliance, and David Wilkins, vice president of marketing at Learn.com, talked about leaving the learners in charge to create and apply content. They addressed the paradigm shift learning professionals must make to tap the enormous power of informal learning by the organization's knowledge assets, its people.
Some of you have probably seen this graphic before, which expresses the sort of weird thing that we're into, that most corporations spend the bulk of their funds for learning on formal learning, whereas most of the learning is informal, not in the classroom. When I think formal, there isn't a pure formal and a pure informal, rather there's a range. And so it's, sort of what's in the mix that counts. And one way to look at formality is where does the subject matter come from? If there's a curriculum that's stated by somebody besides the person doing the learning, well, that's formal. If it's somebody who's making their own choices, well, that's informal. And often, as we know, formal ends up as recognition, as a grade, as a check mark in an LMS, as a gold star, that is something where you know it's over. Whereas informal learning, you're sort of getting little bites all the time, and it's never over. How do we get this weird economic thing where we sort of looks like we're not putting our money in the right place? I blame school. Formal learning, schooling, is appropriate for novices, for people who need to know the lay of the land, the language, that sort of thing. It's like riding a bus. I mean, it's not personal. If you're hungry, the bus is not going to stop for you. And this is perfectly appropriate for novices. However, when one is more experienced, these are people who make profits at companies, learning tends to be more informal because I'm just looking for little snippets, things that sort of fill in the holes in my tapestry of knowledge. I don't want to take a course. I've got the feel. I just need to know this little bit and this little bit and that little bit. And this is more like riding a bicycle because I decide where I want to go. If I'm hungry, I stop at a restaurant. I can redefine my path. And frankly, I mean, I live on a hill. There are a lot of bicyclists who come up the hill every weekend. And when one of them breaks down, the next bicyclist stops to help. And in a good learning organization, the same type of thing happens because in the learning, we're all in it together. Hence, the learners are running the asylum, as we say. And if we have this progression where there's, more and more informal, where we get hung up is we're real good as a profession at designing bus routes. And we're not very good at creating bike paths. And I think this is because we do have a legacy from school. Often that's the model. I mean, that's where workshops and classes and things come from. So I counsel people to, don't make it like school. Make it like whatever people need to do to get the job done. And again, it's the same switch from plants used to be these rigid, mechanical, fixed, predictable things. And when I look at an organization now, I think of it more as an ecosystem. So a plant is nature. And that's the way organizations seem to be fitting together.